Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome to Green School Bali, a live webinar. My name is Kyle, and I'm here with Geoff. And today we are going to be talking about the high school experience at Green School and how we approach education in a thematic way and use creativity and innovation to tackle real-world problems. You can type your questions into the chat box, and we will be sure to answer them. So let's get right to it. Sorry, that was scripted. I'm going to come off script now. Hi, everybody. My name is, as was mentioned, Kyle King, and I've been here at Green School for 7 years as an educator through a couple of different the ranks. And I'm joined with Geoff Huskinson, who is a science teacher. He joined us this year. And we're very happy to talk to you about Green School and the experience that it provides to students. And so I guess to get started, I'll just come back a little bit to my background. I mentioned 7 years here. That's right. And I came over to the Green School after about 13 years in education, and had gone through the many systems that are out there to really come to the unsystem, I would say. And it was really refreshing, and it gave me a kickstart on the career, because it was something in education I think I had been searching for the whole time and hadn't found it. So I would say that in my experience of 20 years of teaching and learning, it was really nice to come out of the factory setting for education, where as an educator, I felt like I was on a hamster wheel, and that was powering a conveyor belt that was very, very much assembly line styled. And we were just building a product, a uniform product, a regular product. And we were using this one size fits all model. And Green School is just not that. And it's been so great. And for me, it's, I say, and I think so many others would say this too, it's just kind of been a dream come true in finding what you are looking for, the El Dorado almost of teaching and learning. And so in 7 years here at Green School, I've been a math teacher, and I did that for a good 5 years. In my second year of doing that, I came across a problem that we had here at Green School, and that was transportation. You see, we're rurally situated in Bali, far from the centers, the more populated centers, and we noticed that our population was coming by car. And not only that, they were coming only with 1 or 2 passengers in the car. And we just recognized this as a real problem for a school that was had a namesake of Green School. So myself, along with the graduating class of 2015, came up with this solution called the BioBus. And we went about carpool auditing, coming up with all the data, presenting it to our board. And in no time at all, we started a BioBus project, where we started to implement not only mass transportation, but renewable energy. And that program has grown from 1 bus 5 years ago to 8 buses at this point. And we include our students. It still is student driven. We have students that are out on the streets collecting used cooking oil every week. And at this point, we collect over 2,000 liters of used cooking oil to be turned into biodiesel. And we transport every month. We're transporting. We give over 5,000 rides. So it's been a huge success here for us, and it's been something that we can say. We can say that we are actually walking the talk, and I think that's one of the things about sustainability that's really, really important to do. And I was fortunate enough to come across this fellow here and hand the project over to him, as I have now come into the role as the head of high school. And that's what I've been doing for the last 2 years. And so I have a bigger, broader view of things at this point. And I would like to just talk a little bit about that give you a taster on that before I do turn things over to Geoff. I think I'll zoom out a little bit more for him to come and zoom in a little bit more about like what actually goes on in the classroom. But here at Green School, I come back to a quote that struck me years ago that by Mark Twain, who said, "Don't let school get in the way of your education." And so we really have tried to break that mold. And as mentioned before, we're not a one-size-fits-all model. And so we try and educate the kid and meet them where they are. We have a balanced approach to education. I think in this day and age, and the trend has been over the last couple of decades to assess kids and evaluate them for the content and knowledge. And that's just not the future. We know that knowledge and content is on the internet, and it's just seconds away. It's at your fingertips to get that information, and you don't need to recall that. And so we've shifted to a model where we look more at skills and values. I say look more at that. We value content and knowledge equal to skills and values. And so that's something that is embedded in the classrooms, in our learning, in the way that we plan, in our curriculum. A lot of people talk about 21st century learning skills. We have our own version of those, and it's something that is omnipresent in what we do and what we deliver on. And currently, the one that we're drawing on probably the most is adapting, as we have turned everything into a distance learning program. And so it's been a huge challenge for us, but it's something that we've embraced. And not only, we've even taken it one step further to call it, we say that we bend like bamboo. And flexibility is a really, really important thing and skill to have. And I think our kids have learned that. And so out of flexibility comes resilience. And that's really, really important for us. And I think that's been the premise of, or the strongest ingredient to the success we've had with our distance learning program, which finishes this week, by the way. And don't get me wrong, it's been good, but I'm really happy to have campus open again in August. Values are also very important to us too, and that would be the third piece to our balanced approach. And we have something called the I respect values, and those include integrity, responsibility, empathy, peace, sustainability, community, and trust. And those are things that really lift our community up, and we like to highlight those in a variety of ways at Green School. In fact, as a student we're about to graduate our class of 2020, and students that are exemplary in that area, we give them what is called a Green Leaders distinction. And so, and our valedictorians are not, we don't recognize valedictorians by their GPA. They're recognized for their I respect values, is the strongest part of the criteria for having valedictorians at Green School. I'm going to talk just a little bit about our special programs, and I don't want to get carried away because I want to make sure that Geoff has some time to speak, and then we can answer some of your questions. But we really value the spirit of enterprise, and so we have a number of social enterprises on campus. That includes the BioBus, as was mentioned. And BioBus is not only transportation for the school, but it's also a medium for teaching and learning, and we have classes and curriculum built for that. We also have a program that works with the local community to not only teach English, but provide access to the resources that we have here at Green School. As mentioned, we are in a rural area, and we have somewhere in the order of 200 to 300 kids that come on campus every week and we're able to share the great facilities that we have here at Green School, and the great knowledge and the great people and talent that's here. So that's called the Cool Connection, and that's a very important part of our programming at Green School. Well, we have our own recycling center that was set up by students and family. So that's waste management here in Bali is tricky, and I'd say we do it as good as anybody else in Bali. So enterprising is really important, but I'd be remiss in not talking about social justice and how important that is. And we have big events every year. One, I guess two that I would highlight are V-Day, which is Violence Against Women Day, and also M-Day, which is Men's Awareness Month Day. And so gender is something that Green School has taken on with a lot of fervor. And we are fighting always for equality and equity in many, many different fashions, in many different ways, on many different fronts. So now that I've talked at you and talked your ear off, I do see one question, and maybe I'll take that, or a couple of questions. Maybe I'll take that, and then I'll turn it over to Geoff to speak. So it looks like special needs. We do. We have a learning support system here, and it's something that is not robust, I will say, and I think we would have to look at the application and decide whether or not we're able to meet those special needs for students. There is something in place here. All of our teachers are, as mentioned, try and meet the student where they are. But we also know that our teachers are not, that doesn't mean that they're trained to work with certain cases of special needs. So that would be something that we would have to review in an application. I think, looked like there might've been one other on there. No, that just looks like a comment. Yeah. Well, without further ado, one of our most highly respected teachers I bring to you, this is Geoff Huskinson, and I'll turn it over to him.
Thank you, Kyle. Yes, please don't be shy. If there are any questions at all you want to come up with, we will do our best to field them as best we can. To give you, again, I don't wish to give you too much of my history, but rather more of my experience here. I came from a farming background, grew up on a farm in Ireland, and very much built a business off the back of recycling organic waste onto agricultural land, which is something I did post university for 15 years. And I then, having sold that, went traveling actually for a year, and with my wife before kids. And teaching had been tapping me on the shoulder for all these years, and very glad that I didn't go into it straight away, but absolutely delighted that I have finally taken that step. However, similar to many teachers who find their journey leads here, again, I found the foie gras version of education just didn't fit with me at all, in that I, again, as Kyle, without reiterating what he's already said, very much educating and developing the person as a whole, and being able to incorporate the skills and the values that we value here particularly. But I believe these are endemic in every family with regards to how you want your children to grow up. And in the way the world is going at the moment, I believe that a well-rounded person that has an awareness, a global awareness, an awareness of himself, confidence, and an understanding of who they are and how they fit in is as much of an education as anyone could hope for. And I have found here it's just been facilitated on so many levels, in that I am more than just a science teacher. I have farming experience and mechanics experience. I like playing music. I'm into sport. Every single one of those things I've had the benefit of being able to contribute to this community. And you will find across the staff here that they are multifaceted in their ability and their talents, and as a team, and as the way the coherence between everybody, and the cohesion rather of how they work together. I think if you have a child who is finding mainstream schooling difficult due to its restrictions on what they want to achieve, then Green School is a fantastic opportunity for them if they have that self-motivation, that self-drive, that desire to go and do things for themselves. Because here that is facilitated on so many levels, in that It was brought up that students wanted to do something about the transport issues, and Biobus was created. I came here and suddenly found myself pulling apart vehicles behind us here in the iHub, and I've suddenly got a mech shop, a mechanic shop that students are doing, and it's amazing how your students or your children will come here with something they want to explore, and there will be members of staff here who will be able to facilitate that. And together as a team, it's incredible how you get these little poppets of just genius that pop up, and suddenly you create something from which education tendrils from it. I mean, the Biobus in itself, again, we're looking at mechanics, we're looking at physics, we're looking at the chemistry of fuels, where you can start looking at environmental sustainability and fossil fuels, and the economics of running a business and small enterprise or small and medium enterprise. The ability to show children a route into being an entrepreneur, into being someone who has got the skills to be able to grow something for themselves. And I think this most certainly hit home when we went for WASC accreditation at the beginning of this year, for which I stuck my hand up and wanted to get involved with. And when we had students and teachers and parents all involved around the table and asking questions and commenting on what Green School does and how we feel we do, the most eloquent and aware and most confident and impressive human beings around that table were almost in every case the students. And I just thought, if that is the sort of human being that comes from this school, well, that is a job well done. And I've been very, very honored to be part of this. And as I said, if that's the sort of school that you feel your child would flourish in, this is absolutely the place for them, because it's not a one size fits all. Just like the way we do not teach the same thing to all the students. It's so student owned, and some of what we teach, and there's this ability to adapt and change courses to facilitate the desires of the students and to feed their interests. And I think that is what makes us unique here. But if you have any other questions at all that you'd like to throw at us, by all means do. Let's hear you. Enough of us.
Enough of us. Yeah, I see one. It says, where do the students gather all the used cooking oil? Throughout Bali, there's, I don't know at this, I have lost count of how many restaurants donate, but it's dozens of restaurants donate to us. It's been a great education. So we talk about skills, and the students go out. There's a lot to this. It's a very, very rich experience. Going out and collecting used cooking oil doesn't just mean, going door to door and say, give me your used cooking oil. It requires having some language and learning Bahasa Indonesia. And that's something that's really, really important too, is we have what are called the real principles. And the last one is local to global. And so while we are very much a global community, it's really important that we do have a handle on language to a degree that we can communicate effectively, especially on sensitive issues. So our students have to learn enough Bahasa. Some of them would be fluent, but others might not be, and they have to learn enough Bahasa to be able to ask and request used cooking oil. It's also a sensitive topic because used cooking oil, there's a black market for it. And so we're asking for a donation which has a residual value that you might not think of. So this waste that we view as waste can and would otherwise end up in local markets, food markets. And we know everybody knows that once you heat used cooking oil too many times, it becomes carcinogenic and not good for the health. So we talk about that as well, and we talk about how there's the standards are different here, and life expectancy is different related to that, and how quality of life is different oftentimes, and how and so there's rich lessons in just going around and doing something as what seems mundane as collecting used cooking oil. It also gets them out walking the streets and carrying 18 liters of used cooking oil is very muscle building too. So it's it's such a holistic way of doing things. But in short, we collect all over, and we're always looking for donations from restaurants and hotels.
Just to clarify, it's not child labor. We do actually have a whole fleet of vehicles that go out now and collect from all over the island. We take our students out every Wednesday on Jalan Jalan. Some of them go surfing, and some of them will with all sorts of various enterprises and ideas that get them out into the local communities and integrating with the people on the island and some of the resources in here and culture. And it's an exquisite part of what we do here. But with regards just to the biobus, yes, we go out in little teams on the bus and we visit these restaurants that donate. And it's part of the social media and the marketing and promotion of what we do and promotion of the restaurants. There are a couple of iced lattes drunk every now and then as we go through and photo opportunities. But it's very much a sort of a front of house promotion of what BioBus and Green School is, representing the school publicly and going around Ubud and Canggu in particular. But it's a very nice project that a lot of students sign up for every year, and part of it is going out and collecting that oil.
Sometimes they do see it as child labor, though.
They do sometimes, but we all got to do some things we don't want to do in order to get where we want to.
That's right. There's another question here. We are concerned about our daughter not making it for the start of the term. Is there something else she can do to prepare for school?
Rosina.
Don't
know what year Rosina she's coming. Your daughter's coming into.
Yeah, maybe be helpful to know what year that is. We're still working out what our program, what it will look like next year. There are so many things that still remain uncertain for the world, I think, at this point, and it's affecting education. So we're planning on opening here, but we know that there's a good percentage of our community that is afar and abroad, and they might not be able to get back to us. So we are at the moment, we're in the planning stages for what that would look like in the event that students can't come back to us. And we're actually quite far along in the design of our distance learning program for next year. She is coming for the last 2 years of high school. She is 16. Okay. She doesn't. Well, to answer your second question, she does not need a Greenstone topic, and those really start incubating. Well, I mean, the grade 11 start incubating. I think even though I don't get to do a Greenstone, I've been incubating on one. Everyone loves the idea of a Greenstone, and so everyone has an idea. But we have this. There's a full year, grade 12 year, that is a step-by-step process for the kids to go through in their journey, and we facilitate the ideation and bring them along so that they are able to articulate their idea to the community. And so I wouldn't worry about the Green School idea. I think you would have to talk to admissions a little bit more about. I think we'd want to see. I haven't seen your application. I don't think I've seen that come in yet. If I'm right, but if I'm wrong, then it can be brought to my attention. I would inquire with admissions. At this point, there are a couple of options that you could select for next year, and I'd be happy to advise you further too via email. Next question. Could you say something about how many students you have in each grade in high school? So we're graduating our largest class ever. It's 34 students this year. But typically we've grown over the years. As a high school, when I came in, we were at somewhere between 60 and 70, and we've almost doubled in size over the last 7 years. We're the largest international school in Bali at the moment. That will change for next year. We're looking at less students, but just the nature of the COVID, the crisis that's hitting the world. So typically we've had about 25 to 30 kids in each one of the grade levels. Now, by class itself, that varies a little bit. I think our ratio is very nice of student to teacher. It's about 1 teacher to 7 students. Doesn't necessarily translate that way always to the classroom, but the classes would range in size from some of the smaller classes would have 5, but typically you're looking at probably 14, 15 kids in a class.
Very much depends on the popularity of the block class that's being offered. We very much pitch our classes to our high school students at the beginning of each block, and they select the courses that most interest them or that they need for their various credits. But it's a combination whereby what classes are offered over the year allow students therefore to sort of fill up the various criteria that work them towards graduation, making sure they have enough literacy or enough science or enough enterprise and all the various aspects of what we offer here, that the students will have opportunities to access all of those things over their time here. But the students choose their individual classes, and then our advisors, our careers advisors, and our sort of homeroom advisors then guide them to make sure that they have filled all the credits that they need over their time at Green School.
Yeah, that's right. So sometimes we cap certain classes, and but it is student choice. I think student choice and student voice is really important, and we want them. We want them to own their pathway. So we want them to. I think that they're finding a passion can be a little bit stressful. I don't think we don't so desire for our students to feel stress about that, but we want them to explore at least and get to discover themselves. So they do select their classes, but there are graduation requirements. So they need, for example, they do need 4 years of literacy credits, and they need 3 years of math credits.
Nice segue.
Yes, great segue. What does assessment in school look like? We leave a lot of this to the teacher. We try not to. We don't like to think of ourselves as a school that does testing so much. There are tests. I'm not going to say that there aren't. It's just not a word that we use that much. We really believe in project-based learning, experiential learning, and we also like to look at alternative ways to testing. If there is a test, we very much believe in retesting for that. So, you're not, when you come to Green School, you're not buying the IB curriculum or a Cambridge curriculum or something like that, which is very standardized, and there isn't much wiggle room nor creativity to the way that it's something that is coming down. It's very top down, whereas we're a bottom up system. So our teachers, we hire for the teacher and the talent that they bring, and knowing that they've got education as a teacher and years of experience. And so we have to really trust our teachers and their judgment on how to do assessment with the students. But we value projects, we value presentations. Those are very, very important to the way that we consider look at the student. Our rubric is a very popular and common thing to use here, and our rubrics would also include things like, did they use this? Like a rubric might be built out every block. We have a theme, and we want to see that the teacher is assessing for that theme. So, for example, block 2 is climate change, and so there might be criteria around that. But it also integrates with the skill. So you might the skill that the teacher might have been focusing on was communicating. So that rubric might say, how effective was the student in communicating on maybe this learning outcome? And I don't want it to sound too loose, ambiguous, and freewheeling. Maybe we do have learning outcomes. We do have a scope and sequence, and so all of our teachers design their courses that way, and that we draw from best practice around the world and the best curriculum. So this is not to say that the IB is not good. In fact, we use a lot of the ideas, and we draw from a lot of the curriculums around the world to deliver our own version. We're kind of like chefs. We kind of chef it up. We grab this from there and we chef it up to deliver the Green School, the dish, the Green School dish. I don't know.
Similarly, if I just add to that, for example, coming from teaching 6 years in England, I come very much with GCSEs, IGCSEs, and A-level experience, and a modicum of first grade university physics foundation, so to speak. But I teach across the sciences to those levels, and when I came here, a lot of the classes that I built, I very much focused on the sort of main core parts of science and made sure that students in my classes had experiences of the best of what are deemed to be the sort of 4 pillars of science, if one would allow, in my classes, in that we can look at various aspects of physics, biology, or whichever we be looking at in that particular block. But that I then combine those with the Green School skills and saying, are you able to work collaboratively? Are you able to think critically? Are you able to actually open up this great garage door that is the internet and critically look at the information you're being given and use it accordingly? And so you get better at building weaving this sort of overall experience that both covers what you would consider traditional knowledge from mainstream education that all our teachers come with, but then also incorporating it in with the Green School skills, whereby you're still developing as a person. So you allow for everyone to have a different level of ability with regards to engaging with the content or how far they choose to take these things, but everyone can show a progress. Everyone can show from where they were to where they are at the end of the course, and it's on that basis that we show development against the criteria of the Green School skills, as much as we said with content. But our teachers know what content is out there. There's a lot of attention paid to up-to-date research into teaching and learning, and that is brought in our PD for all our teachers, whereby we are implementing the more recent and proven techniques. And it is something that we spend a lot of time as staff members, making sure that we are implementing this and we are aware of changes in curriculum as they come as well.
Fabian, yes. Are you looking for volunteers? I have 10 years in startup innovation and would be interested in contributing. I'll leave you with my email.
Yeah, community.
Yeah, it's a community. There's this school is very big. There are so many appendages to it, and we love to incorporate the talent that is around in our parent body. We're very inclusive of the parents. We actually have a co-working space on campus for parents. So parents come just like kids. They call it Green School for parents is what the co-working space is. So yes, send me I'll leave you with my email at the end of this session.
Fabian, you will find that due to just the fact that you're engaging with the concept of Green School and that you see it as something valid for both you and your family, and you will find so many like-minded people here. And due to the nature of the diaspora of people that come from all over the globe to bring their children to Green School, the experience and the stories and the businesses and the startups that come from it, and it is a font of knowledge and experience for us as well, in that we actively encourage parents to give talks, and to where we can and where it's applicable, we get them into the classrooms and we say to them, would you like to talk about what you do and how does this apply to what we're currently doing, and how does this work towards sustainability, and whatever theme for that block it might apply to. There are plenty of opportunities for you to get involved. In fact, expect to be collared and dragged onto campus. Very much welcome.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, guys. Sounds amazing. Looks like my son, who is a special needs student in an IB school, would not need to be put into his category in your school. Yeah, we really try not to label here, and that's, I think one of the things that I have really loved about Green School, and things have changed over the years a little bit, but you really step out of this world in a good, bad way, I guess, or in a very in a way that I think requires you taking, what do I want to say? I can't possibly explain to you. I'll do my best to explain to you this experience, but you can only know it when you get here. One of the things that I've really liked about Green School is, yes, labels are not such a thing. Brands are not such a thing either. After being in the States and in Europe for as long as I've been, I came to have, it's been really refreshing to come to Green School, where there is an emphasis put on that. There's a different sort of take on the world, I would say. So yes, our kids we try our best to not label them. They're in grade levels, but they get to roam. There's quite a bit of freedom in the courses that are offered to them. And I will say, I think we do this better than any other school I've been at. Like, it's not weird for a grade 12 student to be in a grade with a bunch of grade 9s, in a class with a bunch of grade 9s, or vice versa. It's just mixed up, and we've done, I think, I would say that has been a success for Green School, and something that you don't typically find in the world, and something very special about this place.
Yeah, that sense of community and everyone responsible for each other. There's a and actually, even with the school reducing in size slightly next year, I think that we will feel that even more next year, and that there'll be that greater sense of community and support for each other. And as you say, if you have a student who struggles with day-to-day mainstream teaching and is deemed to be special needs, you may find that a lot of those special needs are driven from that excessive control. Again, we have to underline that it's so individual that you would find that generally I have seen across having students or having children of my own in the primary years, the support and the networking and the way my children have just blossomed in their confidence and have found that ability to be able to run free and express themselves and not to be judged on any level. And to be the inclusive nature of our community here is often one that is very nurturing for people who perhaps struggle on a social level. But again, it's, as always, these things are so individual.
It's not to say that I think it's really important to note that there's a certain degree of responsibility, like a different responsibility I think our kids have to exercise here, and they're given a lot more freedom than they otherwise would have in another system. So it's really, I think we want our kids to recognize that success here has a lot to do with the intrinsic motivation, finding an intrinsic motivation or drive to learn, because you're not going to be penalized. There isn't a punitive. Yes, you're graded, but it's a much gentler approach, and you're not crushed with homework on a nightly basis. So we're really looking for kids to find the switch almost, and if they haven't already found it, find that switch that's going to turn on the learning for them. But we do a very good job of offering, putting on offer a lot for them and encouraging them. I see a question here about school. What does the school do about science, faith, and religiosity? We're non-denominational, but we're heavily influenced by the Balinese Hindu culture. So we have, on a daily basis, there is Balinese Hindu ceremony here on campus. The Balinese Hindu are the most accepting people, and there is no indoctrination going on here. But we have come to really love this. There's one day of the year that we all come together. It's called Saraswati Day, and it's on a Saturday, and we honor the goddess of knowledge on that day. And that's a very, very special day for us. But again, we ask that you come on that day because it's something that all of Bali does. But you're not indoctrinated. and you should not feel compelled to participate. We're also in a Muslim country, and so there is that influence, or you will feel that also on campus. These things they're not brought into the classroom. No religion in particular is brought into the classroom. I would say we do bring Balinese culture into the classroom. And so you learn a lot about that. And there are, I think, as part of that, you would learn about Hinduism. I think that is how I could probably best say we handle religion. We have teachers that know a lot about theology and would talk about different views and aspects and philosophies on it, and that would be part of classes. But we would not. Nobody is required to commit themselves one way or another to a particular religion.
Could we argue if there's one thing we all worship, that is the planet that we are lucky to inhabit, and we're doing all we can on every level to engage and preserve that. And I think there is something, as an Irish Catholic, I have come here and I have found something so nourishing on a spiritual level, just being accepted into the Balinese way of life, and to have that as such, not essential by any means, but just an intrinsic part of what we do here, and to be able to engage in that part of your spiritual well-being in a different way has been hugely nourishing for me on a personal level, but for my family, and to be part of it. It is one of the jewels here. It's one of the jewels here, and with regards to the question of faith, it is everywhere around you. Is there religion? Yes, whatever you're worshiping, and the science side of it, yes. I mean, it's ecology. It's ecology. That's what ecology and sustainability are what we preach here. And if that is not the nourishment and preservation of life, well, I believe it ticks all boxes. Yep. With regards to that question.
Yep. Do the students have a one-on-one mentoring or anything similar? What does that look like? We have, at the moment, we have twice a week, but when we're in session in our regular manner, we have an advisory, and that's once a week, and the students stay. These are groups of about 10 kids to one advisor or mentor, and they stay with them ideally so long as they're here and the teacher's here. They stay together through the duration of their time in high school. And this advisor mentor is just that role to support them, help them, hold them academically, socially. We know that teachers are not there. Yes, we want them, like, they are hired to be able to deliver teaching and learning, and in that sense, but they're also here to hold our kids and help shape them and inform them. And they are very, very good at this. We're over and over again, you'll hear that Green School is so relationship centered. And so it's between teachers, it's between students, and we're going to have to say some goodbyes to our graduating class of 2020 and a lot of students for this academic year. And you will hear it's going to be so heartfelt, and it's going to be it's going to be joyous, it's going to be sad, it's going to be emotionally full for us all. And that's because the relationships and the bonds are so strong. I am in touch daily with so many of our alumni. In fact, I'm co-teaching a class with an alumni right now that's at UCLA studying sustainability, and we're co-teaching us a permaculture class. So, yeah, I mean, the relationships are lasting. They're forever, and kind of, I think, once you come to Green School, you'll be touched by it in the relationship. So, yes, it's an important part of what we do, is that mentoring, and it happens inherently in what goes on. You'll find students kind of they might not be in that mentorship or they might not be connected that way, but you'll find that a student will have an affinity for the way that a certain teacher teaches or acts, and that they'll kind of pathway themselves and map their trajectory, their learning trajectory that way. And that's really so there's a lot of guidance, a lot of support, a lot of inspiration in that way.
Certainly from the school I was teaching in on the south coast of England previously, student relationships were very much left for the well-being team, so to speak. We were feeding them information, and it was always passed on to another department in order for that to be facilitated for students. But here, certainly, when I was interviewed for the school and when I was applying for the job, the focus was how are his student relationships? How is he with the students? And having come here, I can see that I resonate with so many of the other teachers here, who they just get young, growing minds, and they get young people, and they understand, and they are still very much in touch with what it's like to be that, and there's guidance everywhere, and yeah, I just have to agree with Kyle on that. It's everywhere. You can see in this community that the relationships between staff and students and parents, and it's unique there, but very much a central strut of what holds this place up.
Yeah, definitely. I know that. I think we're scheduled for 45 minutes. Is that right? One thing I see, one more question I can't resist.
I know they're getting great. It's like playing a gig. They say one more tune. All the questions are coming through now. But how does maths look different at Green School compared to traditional? Oh, to have Pak Matt here.
Yeah, we'd have to have Pak Matt. I taught math here, and I helped build the scope and sequence. Pak Matt would be great to speak on how we do math here, but. While I did a lot to build out the program, I think in my time I saw math going from something that kids came with trauma, or just I think Green School has an appeal for that kid that doesn't feel like they fit into the system. And I don't think we want to necessarily sell it that way, but I do think that we would want to sell the fact that we have an alternative approach to math, and don't want that association that so many kids have and so many families have. And so we do a lot with Joe Bowler's theory of just taking that sting out and destigmatizing math, and looking and finding the beautiful elements, and knowing that everybody's mind works differently in this area, but we know that can be embraced, and a lot of it is the attitude and the mindset. And that's really where we operate from, is the growth mindset.
They won't realize it's different until they've done it. And then they sort of go, oh, is that what I did?
That's right.
Yeah, that's what you did. Well done. You now do algebra.
It's true. It's true. And there's so much math that we teach. Like, I mean, it's in these very hands-on and practical classes that are offered as well, that are credited for math. So, I think it's just really important. I think Jennifer's not with us, and she always does a good job of adding. I think we're very much cheerleaders and believers, and I think that I hope that you're hearing that Green School is not for everybody at the same time, and you have to, before you decide, you have to kind of weigh it all. And while we spoke very much about the beautiful things, and I oftentimes can find myself just getting intoxicated about talking about Green School, it is very different. And there are elements here, and there are things, and we talk about the relationships. It's a very social environment, and for some it's over social in some ways. And we talk about a didactic, like we're pretty much very, very different than that structure too. And so I think you have to think about, is this something, know your family, know your kid, and know how much structure or not is your kid needs to thrive. And giving it a whirl is one thing, but I think you also need to think through something like this as well. So I'm happy to field your questions via email, and the admissions team is as well. So with that, because we'll carry on, I'm sure, if we don't, we're already 5 minutes over.
We can talk for an hour. There's so much to to tell you about here. And actually, it is one of these things that you simply will not know it until you do. And yes, it's an experience for not just the students here, but for the families who come. And there is more to think about than just what the school delivers. It's also very much integrating into life in Bali. There's a lot of support offered, and there's a lot of inclusion and help given to you to make that happen. But it is unlike anything you have ever known. And certainly from where I'm sitting, it's been a hugely positive experience for me and my family and my children. We hope the same will be for you as well. As I think Rosina's last comment was, we can't wait to see you. We can't wait to see you here on campus.
It'd be great to have you all join us if that's possible. So with that, thank you very much for joining us. And I would direct you to Pancha and Jennifer in our admissions team first, if you have questions, and they will get in touch with me if there's anything else. I can give you my email too, kyle.king@greenschool.org, kyle.king@greenschool.org. All right, everybody, have a good day.
Bye-bye from Bali.
Bye-bye from Bali.